Save up to 99% on every transaction on Sensex derivatives. Participate in the Sensex.
Proven on global test tracks. Manufactured in 3 continents. Available in 118 countries. Apollo tires with you first technology. Crafted for the safety of your loved ones.
GoIBIBO.com presents CEO's Dream Destination.
The dream destination, I always look forward to the beaches of South France. I heard a lot about it. The idea of any one of these South France beaches would be to get relaxed, stop all the worrying around about emails, Twitter, social book, everything, and just focus on peace and just relax all around. Definitely, I would one day like to go there.
Presented by GoIBIBO.com, the fastest travel website.
Welcome back. You're watching Closing Trades live on ET Now. Let me now bring on board Avinnash Gorakssakar, founder and director with Money Investments. Avinnash, good afternoon to you. Thank you for joining us. 8% up in the month of September. How much more to go?
Nikunj, my guess is probably, I think some more upside could be there in the shorter term, but clearly some profit taking could be, advised. I think clearly month of September has seen a lot of policy and reform announcements. So, to that extent, foreign money as well as, the domestic sentiment has improved significantly. But I think it's not going to be a one-way ride. I think clearly there is going to be some profit taking, and clearly I think wherever, investors have made money quickly, something like 15-20% in a few weeks, I think it's better to at least take some profits from the table. I would say that, stocks like even pharma or FMCG, if they do come down to pretty attractive levels, it would be again a good time to look at them. It's not that, the story is over there.
Avinnash, 4-year markets have gone nowhere. Markets have only recovered 20% in this year. They've only gone up by, 9% in the month of September, and you're advising investors to exercise caution. How will they make money if the bull market starts?
Nikunj, my guess is clearly, I think, even today, on the macro side, if you see, I think clearly it's going to be a long way before we see some changes on the macro numbers. Although, sentiment has improved and foreign liquidity is definitely going to come in. I would say that, probably, it would be still be advisable to say, be invested to up to 60-70% on the market and keep a buffer of about 15-20%. Any kind of correction would obviously offer a good, because this is a market which probably I think is a buy on declines. So any correction, obviously, if global markets correct or if there is some global, negative kind of development, probably we could get a chance to see a kind of a drop. But at least the secular trend, as you rightly said, is up. But clearly, stock specifically, I think, one should take a call. Wherever you see a big rise, I think clearly one should definitely take some profits off the table and then remain invested there.
Give me an example of what's looking stretched. Then give me an example where valuations are looking frothy and you will advise our viewers either to take chips off the table or go short.
I would say, stocks like Jubilant, for example, although the long-term story looks pretty good, I think clearly, at a multiple of roughly about 30-35 times, I think, clearly, valuations look pretty stressed out. And, even if incremental earnings do come in, I think it's a long way. The story is already well known. I think on the, on the large cap as well as on the beaten down stock, something like a BHEL or something like a Larsen & Toubro, where, concerns have been built in over the last couple of quarters. I think clearly now with most of the reforms announced, hopefully rates, are likely to come down in the next coming quarter or so. I would say that this would be a time to actually switch on the rate sensitives and where exactly, beaten down sectors like typically construction, capital goods. These would be the areas where possibly the high beta, performance could come in the next, couple of quarters.
Right. What's the call at this point in time, Avinnash, when it comes to stocks such as cement, or infrastructure related, not maybe cap goods directly, but the broader power utility companies, PFC, REC, the likes?
I think on the power distribution space, I think there's yet a good amount of incremental upside left. Something like an REC, a PFC. Clearly, I think, if power reforms are implemented with further vigor and the kind of, SEB restructuring which has been announced now, I think clearly a lot of liquidity which had got stuck up with the SEBs, for the power distribution companies. My sense is REC would definitely gain, even a PFC would gain, but REC definitely would gain better because, they have a good distribution network, and clearly I think with all the SEBs also being told that it would be a performance linked kind of, restructuring package. I think it's a win-win for both the power distribution guys as well as the SEB guys.
Kingfisher Airlines. Okay. Hot air or maybe hope or maybe a combination of both. I don't know. Stock is on your screen, up 9%. United Brewery Holdings. This is the holding company of Kingfisher Airlines. You know, this is one Vijay Mallya group company, which I think has a 35-40% stake in Kingfisher Airlines. So if Kingfisher will benefit, United UB Holdings will also benefit. Ashwini, from 9 rupees to 15 rupees, it's been a one-way ride for Kingfisher Airlines. Do you think it's high time, and do you think it is time to show our respect to that stock again?
Well, if you bought it at 9, you are getting a pretty good profit. If you bought it at 15, you are getting another opportunity to exit. I mean, I don't think it is some great Satyam which is going to move to 120. Even if it's going bankrupt, I don't think there will be too many suitors for this stock. And it's a stock which is now bleeding even the profitable companies in the group. So, if Jet Airways didn't get excited with FDI Aviation, then probably I don't think even Kingfisher will do much better. So, aviation overall is not a market leading group. So, this is a good time to get out of this entire group if you have to take one call.
Avinnash, let's look at the flip side of the equation here. So if Kingfisher Airlines or if UB Group companies, they survive and they revive, this will automatically help their lenders. Is it a good time to buy something like an SBI, BOB, that consortium which has a huge outstanding to Kingfisher Airlines, and also names like ICICI Bank and Axis Bank which have a huge exposure to the UB Group?
Exactly. I think I would put my bets more on the PSU banks, especially a Bank of Baroda or maybe an SBI, because Nikunj, these have been beaten down stocks for a very long time, and with the CRR cut coming, I think clearly the liquidity impact is going to benefit more of these PSU guys. And if Kingfisher does survive and hopefully a strategic investor comes in, clearly I think you will see a big jump on the PSU banks which have got a bigger exposure on KFA. So I would, like to actually at this point of time would like to take a punt on say SBI and a Bank of Baroda, which clearly have, obviously been underperforming for a long time. So I think these two stocks would be definitely be beneficiaries, if the equation turns positive for KFA.
Is the broad call on aviation positive right now, Avinnash?
I would say that, at least the sentiment for this sector is going to be now positive. At least in the next 3 to 6 months, one is going to see good amount of interest coming in stocks like, say, SpiceJet or maybe a Kingfisher, if hopefully things pan out on the liquidity side. Clearly, I think, if you leave alone Jet, which already has a 80% foreign holding, I think clearly the other companies also, although, on record, Indigo has gone and said that they are not interested as of now for a foreign holding. I think at least the sentiment turns to be quite positive, and at least prima facie fresh capital coming in would actually strengthen the sector and, keep the, momentum quite buoyant for these stocks.
Mitesh, how encouraging is today's price performance in Cipla? Because Cipla was up yesterday and Cipla is up today by another 3%.
Yeah, I think, it kind of went through a breakout and then gave a deeper correction than what I had expected. I think the good part is that we are getting it about 370 to about 375. Now, if it sustains above that, I think, my sense is that a retest of the recent highs of 395 is on order. Possibly we might head even higher. There are times when stocks just give a slightly deeper pullbacks, to possibly hit the stop losses. But the long-term indicators still remain rising. So while I'm surprised at the slightly deeper correction and an equally faster bounce back, I think I would look, I'm just waiting for the stock to start trading about 375 and closing above that. It's very close to those levels. May happen today or tomorrow.
Okay, on a day when benchmark indices are under pressure, lots and lots of mid-cap stocks and small-cap stocks are flying around. Some are flying around on strong volumes. So which are some individual stocks where volumes are much higher than the 5-day average and the 10-day average? To discuss that, let's connect with Poonam. Hi, Poonam.
We have Max India, Kingfisher Airlines as well as Electro Steels Limited on volume basis today. Max India, of course, there has been a block deal of close to 52 lakh shares, and in terms of volume, 65 lakh shares have been traded, and the volumes are nearly 10 times the 2-week average. Also, there is a lot of interest in the stock because of the talks on FDI, hike in FDI in the insurance sector. So entire stocks relating to the insurance sector have seen a lot of interest. Next is Electro Steels, 1 crore share have been traded so far, and the volumes are close to 3.2 times the 2-week average. This stock has hit a 52-week high today, and it's of course trading above all DMA, and these are highest volumes seen in this stock in the past 1 year. Lastly, we just have Kingfisher Airlines, which has seen volumes close to 7 crore, and the volumes are close to 2 times the 2-week average. Very high volumes that we have been seeing in Kingfisher Airlines as well as the entire UB Group stocks. And in terms of Kingfisher Airlines, the AGM is still on, and the company states that they are looking at stake sale to foreign carrier, as well as they are also seeing a lot of interest from local investors as well. So do keep an eye on these stocks. Over to you.
All right, Poonam, thanks for that. I just want to point out Mahindra and Mahindra, which is up about 8.5 to 9 rupees, and Maruti on the other hand is down by about 10 rupees. Avinnash, late last evening, Maruti announced that they could consider a wage hike, and though that wage hike will have a big impact on the operating profit margins. Do you think Maruti has done the right thing by considering a wage hike, and do you think now the company has a good solid HR policy in place?
My guess is, I think, Nikunj, this wage hike was pending for a long time. So I think it's come in now. So obviously in the shorter term, as the stock price reflects, it's going to be, impacting its EBITDA margins in the short term. But longer term, I think clearly this, would definitely, be a kind of a sentiment booster for the workers there. And clearly, with the Manesar unit now ramping up volumes, my guess is, I think in the coming few quarters, probably you could see a good kind of jump on the Maruti, kind of improvement on both on the top line as well as on the bottom line. Maruti lost a lot of market share due to its labor problems. So I think clearly if, you take a 6 to 8 month view, I think definitely things have been resolved, and I think the worst has been over. So clearly from a medium to longer term perspective, Maruti could be accumulated.
Aside of Maruti and some of the other auto majors, what would you do with an IT right now, the large caps essentially?
IT, Tanvir, my guess is, I mean, they are going to remain range bound for a long time. I think the rupee has again been under pressure. In fact, we have seen TCS, Infosys, Wipro. I think all these stocks clearly appear to be, more near to fair value, and clearly any incremental upside, at least in the immediate short term, looks limited. So I think clearly whoever has a holding, I think can hold on, but I think fresh buying definitely doesn't seem to be advisable. I think now clearly in the next few quarters, I think with the kind of reforms announced, I think IT as a space would clearly look to underperform for some time.
Ashwini, how should traders approach Bharti? Because Bharti was the darling of yesterday, and now suddenly a lot of big boys are stuck with a no growth scenario. Bharti has been an underperformer this year, Ashwini, and do you think Bharti will continue to underperform for the rest of the year as well?
Well, there's a very simple maxim in the markets. If it's getting good for the customer, it's not good for the investor. And that's what we've seen over the last many years, that the customer keeps getting better and better deal. But, the stock has been coming down. Now, while you would say that, everybody needs telecom, Indian population is growing, etc., but that's a similar argument like you would make for an airline. Chances are it's now a fairly range-bound type of stock. It won't fall too much. It won't go up too much. Maybe 240 is, 240 to about 290 is the maximum range you would see. Even in a great bull market, I don't think Bharti will rally too much beyond 300.
Okay, aside of telecom, just wanted to draw your attention, Avinnash, again to some of the oil and gas stories, particularly Reliance. You think the rally has been done there?
I think for the shorter term, I think what markets would possibly like to look at is, whether Reliance aggressively bids for the telecom circle, which is coming up, very soon. On the oil and gas kind of business side, my guess is, I think clearly, the coming quarter is going to be slightly better. But I mean, incremental upsides would also clearly depend on the kind of ramp up they show on the KG gas basin. So I think for the time being, the stock which has shown a good upside possibly could remain, in a narrow range. I mean, obviously the bias still continues to be positive, but the bigger upside and the bigger trigger could be, what kind of initiatives they take on the telecom side. Any aggressive kind of bidding on the spectrum side which is coming up, I think that would possibly be a big trigger there.
Cement is having a very, very strong day. And if I look at large cap, mid cap, small cap, across the board, all cement stocks are up. Can we